Well, this is surreal. We are finally filming my December check-in video. Wow. In a lot of ways, this feels like this has come by very, very quickly. And I'm not going to lie, there were moments throughout the year where I really felt frustrated. However, even in those moments of frustration, I still didn't feel like the year was dragging by or anything. I just felt frustrated in that moment about a very specific thing. And for the most part, I would say I feel like it moved pretty quickly. And I eventually ended up in a place where I didn't feel like I was thinking about this all the time. Anyway, so the format of today's video is I am going to answer a whole bunch of questions from you about this no-buy year. All right, so I have the questions here. Question number 1. Do you think you'll keep purchases to a minimum now or go back to the way it was? I don't think I could go back to the way it was. If you go back to my 2020, 2021 videos, you'll often see there'll be months where I purchased 10 plus bottles in a single month. That feels very excessive. I mean, it felt excessive at the time, but now it feels just like otherworldly excessive. And, you know, my circumstances have changed. I'm not doing the same kind of work that I was doing before. My income has substantially dropped in the last 12 months. And I couldn't maintain that kind of frivolous purchasing, because if I did, I'd be in debt. So I just don't have the disposable income that I used to have. But even if I did have that same level of income, I'm not sure that I could go back to shopping for perfume the way I used to shop for perfume. To answer your question, no, it can't possibly. Well, I'll never say never. I mean, I think this is something that it could creep up on me again if I'm not vigilant about it. But no, how I'm feeling now, I don't think I could go back to that mindset of buying perfume in such excessive quantities. Before I go any further, I'm not going to call out the names of who asked these questions, because I'm not sure if people want me to do that, and they may want to stay anonymous. So I'm going to keep it anonymous. But suffice to say, thank you to everyone who posted questions. I had a lot of questions, a lot more than I was expecting. The next question is, what is the best thing you got from it? I think the best thing that I got from doing this no-buy year was an ability to focus more on what I have. And if we're talking about perfume specifically, really trying to get to know the perfumes that I have and understand them and wear them, and I guess gain an understanding of what it is that I really like in perfumery, types of perfumes I really enjoy wearing. I think just having a general appreciation for what's already in my possession. I think the other thing that I really got out of this year was a sense of gratitude for everything that I do have, because every time I was having these urges to just buy perfume or scroll through perfume websites and buy stuff, one of my coping mechanisms was to come down here and go through my perfume drawers and just smell things and pay attention to what I already had, because it's very easy when you have a lot of stuff and you have it sort of shoved away in cupboards and drawers because you want to get it out of sight, or in the case of perfume, I guess that's a mechanism that we use to protect them and keep them out of light and heat and all that sort of stuff. But because they're out of sight, it's so easy to think, when you're looking at something new and shiny on a website somewhere, or you're listening to a YouTube review of somebody else talking about something and saying how wonderful it is, and you think, wow, that sounds amazing, that sounds better than anything that I already have. And then you go back and you really look at what you have and you pay attention to it, and you realize that actually I do have lots of really lovely things already, and perhaps adding one more to the cupboard isn't actually going to make me feel that much better. So I think the gratitude and appreciation for the things that I actually have already, and really confronting the fact that I have spent a lot of money in the last 2 years, 2021, 2020, I spent a lot of money in a very short period of time on perfume. Now, I'd had big perfume wardrobes before that I had gathered up over, a number of decades. And then I decluttered a lot of that. And a lot of that was designer and celebrity stuff, I'm not going to lie. It certainly wasn't of the niche realm. That's only really something I started getting into around 2010. and certainly not something that I could afford in big quantities until 2019, 2020. So stopping and having a step back and looking at everything that I had been able to freely purchase because I had disposable income to do so. It could have gone two ways. I could have come out of that process feeling really embarrassed about the money that I could have been putting on my mortgage or putting towards my future instead of buying perfume. Or I could just accept that that is what I did and just be grateful for the fact that I'm not in debt now, and to appreciate that time in my life when I had the ability to be frivolous and have fun and enjoy these things that I really enjoy. So I think a sense of appreciation and contentment and gratitude for what I do have, what I've been able to do in the past, and an understanding that it can't continue into the future and being okay with that. So I think that's what I feel like I got out of this year. In addition to sort of learning a little bit more about myself and how I cope with things, particularly stressful situations, and how I turn to scrolling through the internet to deal with those sorts of things. I don't think that I've fixed all of that. Definitely have not fixed the scrolling, but I've definitely intercepted that mechanism of putting things into my cart and then spending the money. Hopefully that answers that question. That's very long-winded. I've got to speed this up. The next question is, what are some frags you thought you would race to buy once it was over, but then lost? I don't know if I actually understand that question, because I think it might have been cut off. I'm assuming that what she was getting at was I then lost the desire to buy them, all of them, pretty much everything that's on my wish list. You know, I made that video last month about my wish list for when my no buy is over, and there was a bunch of stuff not even in that video that I had forgotten to add, and then I found them on a separate list somewhere else, which just clearly indicates, you know, how quickly you can forget about things. And I have to say, there's not really any of them that I'm that keen to rush out and buy right now. Now, there is still part of me that wants to own a little bit more of those fragrances, but I'm not sure I want to necessarily have full bottles of them. If I look at my wish list, actually, let's look at the wish list, shall we? Okay, I did think I would rush to buy Hera from Papillon Perfumes, and I may still do that because I haven't actually tried it yet. I have a friend who I'm catching up with at some point over the next few days, and she's in town. She's been overseas for quite some time, and she has a sample of it she's going to give me. So once I try it, I may eat my words, I may still want to buy it, but for the moment, I'm not in a rush to buy anything. I know I wanted a bottle of Material by Amouage. I still want some more of Material, but currently they still only come in 100ml bottles, so I'm not really rushing to get a 100ml bottle of it. If there is a partial bottle that comes up that is heavily used, I might add, or if I can get a decant of it, I might just do that instead. Precious Forest by Kiko Micheri is definitely one that I'm still very keen on, but I'm not rushing to get it because it's more of a wintry perfume and we're in the height of summer right now. So let's see how I feel in wintertime. Tuberose and Moss by Rogue Perfumery is another one that I've been lusting after pretty much all year. And I think it was on sale at one of our local perfumeries. I don't know if they're even still stocking them, so I may have missed that one. I think they're the standout ones. Oh, and Memoir Woman. I thought I would rush out to buy that one too because I only have a few drops left in my decant, but I don't know, I feel like that's still definitely high on my want list. I just don't feel like buying anything right now. Those are a few of them, I guess, the key ones that I thought I would rush out to buy. There is another one that I thought I would rush out to buy, which is the Shalimar Millesime Tonka by Guerlain. But as it turns out, I didn't have to buy that because somebody very generously bought that as a gift for me. How many full-size bottles do I own? That is a really interesting question because I have not counted them. I didn't count them at the beginning of the year, and I think, have the intention to go through and count them at the end of the year just to see. I think I was wanting to count them at the end of the year because I had anticipated that I would get rid of a whole heap of stuff during my no-buy year, and I really didn't. So the answer to that question is I don't know exactly how many bottles because I have not physically sat down and counted them. However, according to my Fragrantica, I own 253 bottles, but I feel like I haven't really been very good at keeping my Fragrantica up to date, which is another thing that I thought I would do throughout this year, was get this all sorted out, but I haven't even looked at it. I think there are some missing. So let's say somewhere between 250 and 280, I'm guessing. Too many is probably a more appropriate answer to that question. So the next one is from somebody who follows me on Instagram and YouTube, I think. She says, no question, just wanted to share that you inspired me to do a year of no buy clothes. I am at 4 months now. That's awesome. And I can't believe that I inspired you to do that, given how much whinging I have done this year. But keep going. Let me know how you go when you're done. And I might even join you on the no buy clothes thing for a while as well, because I have had a couple of months of buying some clothes, and particularly over Christmas, I took advantage of the sales to get, certain things that I knew I needed and I'd never buy. So I think I need to stop buying clothes now for a bit. Tyler says, more candle videos. Yeah, I will be doing more candle videos, Tyler. You're not the only one asking for those. He also asks, I'd be curious as to how you don't let your collection overwhelm you. Well, actually, that's a really good question, because I think it does overwhelm me. And that's part of something that I'm trying to work through at the moment. Is I know I have too many to physically wear them all, and but I still feel like I'm very much in the process of trying to figure out which ones I want to wear the most. There are some in my wardrobe that I feel like I bought them and then I've barely touched them since I bought them, and I don't want to declutter them until I've given them more of a chance, because it's not that I'm not reaching for them because I don't want to wear them. It's just that I actually think that maybe I'm not reaching for certain things because I'm not aware that I have them. And I tried throughout my no buy year to work through some of that and to start coming up and to come up with different systems to make sure that I wore through them, by changing out my little perfume cabinet upstairs and stuff like that. But that doesn't happen as often as I thought it would. And also, that process that I've been going through still isn't perfect, because I fill that cabinet every time I change stuff out. And so I end up with sort of 50 or 60 fragrances that theoretically I'm going to wear in a month. And it's too much. So I really need to come up with a way of breaking that down to a much smaller mini collection that I maybe swap out consciously more regularly. I don't have an answer for that, because I do feel very overwhelmed by the perfume. Not from the sense of just having it. I do like having them there to go through and just smell them. But in terms of wearing, I feel like I'm overwhelmed by choice on a daily basis, and I find it really hard to just pick one to wear. Maybe you guys might have some tips on what we can do to prevent overwhelm when we have these large collections. Somebody says, wasn't it too hard? I thought it was going to be, and there definitely were moments throughout the year when I thought was too hard, or that, I had committed to too long a time frame, but it really wasn't. And when I think back on it now, it wasn't difficult, and I didn't feel like I dwelled on it too much throughout the year, even though there were times when I did. So it was swings and roundabouts. I was hard sometimes and less hard other times. That's all I can say. But what I will say is that having made a very public commitment to doing this made it so much easier to stick to it. I think I've talked previously about an example where I was in our local perfumery and I bought, I think, some hand cream or something, some Santa Maria Novella hand cream, and I had a little bag. And as I was leaving the store, one of my friends from Instagram and, a subscriber from YouTube came into the store and recognized me, and they questioned me about the bag that I had. So I was like, no, it's not perfume. So it was good, because that was really good for me, because it kind of made it real that there's actually people around me who might be watching me that I don't know if they're watching me. So that definitely helped to keep me on the straight and narrow, for sure. But no, it wasn't too hard, because at the end of the day, we're talking about shopping for a luxury item. So it's not something that's life or death. It's not like it's desperately needed in my life. It's just a want. It's not a need. And I think if you can keep that perspective, and also the perspective that it's not going to change your life by having it, that definitely helps to get through. All right, moving on. What was the biggest challenge? I think the biggest challenge for me was having this YouTube channel and an Instagram account, and seeing all of these new things get released throughout the year, and knowing that, you know, a lot of those things I wouldn't be able to get samples of until much further down the track, and feeling like I was missing out. So the FOMO definitely was an issue and a big challenge for me. But at the end of the day, you can only wear so much perfume. And that's just one thing I had to keep telling myself. There's only so much perfume you can wear, and you already have so much. So just observe and enjoy from afar. Enjoy the nice photos that other people post about it. Enjoy the reviews and hearing about how it smells, and maybe one day you'll smell it yourself. But you don't need to own it, even if you really, really love it, because there's 200 plus other bottles in my wardrobe, many of which are absolute loves for me, and all of them are at least alike. You know, I don't own anything that I don't like. So that is the thing that I have to keep telling myself. Has the urge ceased over time? I think I've kind of covered that already, but yes, definitely. It's well, no. the urge hasn't, but my ability to recognize the urge and then put it aside has. But what this year has given me is perspective about what I actually get from owning things. And it's also given me a little window of time between seeing something that I want and then just pressing buy, or, you know, handing over the credit card or whatever. So no, it hasn't ceased the urge, but it definitely has helped me cope with it better. What is on your to buy list now that the no buy is almost over? This is actually from my little perfume fairy, who often sends me samples. Well, thanks to you, Chrissy. There's probably not that much on my to buy list because you keep me well stocked in samples. However, my answer is I don't really want to buy anything right now. And I'm not sure if that is I'm nervous to buy anything because I'm worried that buying one thing is going to open the floodgates. But I do have a resistance to buying perfume at the moment, unless I've sampled it extensively and know that I really, really, really want it. But even with things like that, I mean, Precious Forest is one that I have sampled. I've had 4 samples of that, and I still want more samples of it, but I'm too embarrassed to go into the perfumery and ask. And I know that I love that perfume, but I just don't want to buy it right now because I don't need it. I know I don't need it. Oh, this is a good question. Was there anything you wish you could have done differently? Yes, there are things that I wish I could have done differently. And actually, this is sort of linked to the next question. These are all from the same person. Best advice you could give to someone attempting a no buy or low buy? I think I can answer both of these questions with one answer. In terms of things that I would have done differently, so if you go back to my no buy rules video, and I haven't been back to look over that, I was trying to do too much all at once. And this is coming from someone who the previous year had said she was on a low buy, and that just went out the window by the end of the year. So 2021 was meant to be my low buy year, where I was going to buy less perfume, and I ended up buying massive quantities of perfume. I went really hard this year with the rules of my no buy, and I had too many categories, and it felt very restrictive at the start of the year. I am somebody who definitely needs structure, so having some rules definitely required. And I need to have some rules that are absolutely black and white. Yes, you can do that. No, you can't do that. And there's no exceptions. But I just had too many rules. I wasn't buying skincare either, except to replace things. And actually that became quite easy for me because midway through the year, I ended up going on Roaccutane, and that just meant that all of these really luxurious skin products that had all these wonderful ingredients in them, I'm not allowed to wear now. I'm not allowed to use them at the moment because it'd be too abrasive for my skin. So that became very easy because there was a condition around it that required me to not use those things. So that was easy. Makeup was hard. And I can say that I don't really feel like I stuck to my no buy on that because I did buy some eyeshadow. I did buy a couple of lipsticks, and I did replace mascaras, but you have to replace mascaras. But I think I failed on the no buy. I did buy things that were not on the list. But the thing with me and makeup is I go through fits and starts with it, but it's not like I'm constantly buying makeup all the time. And that's just because I'm not very good at makeup. So I think my no buy extended to no makeup, no skincare, no perfume bottles I was allowed to sample. Yeah, so that's one thing I would do differently is less categories. Just pick one thing that you really want to focus on. Pick one thing that you really want to focus on, but keep in mind that you still have to have maybe a limit or a budget for the other things that you think you might want to get spendy on, because there was definitely an element of, I can't buy perfume, but I can buy things over here that weren't part of my no buy, and I do feel like I ended up spending more on things that I otherwise may not have spent on, because if I had been buying perfume. In hindsight, maybe I should have said no to PR as well. I didn't get a lot of PR throughout the year, but I did get a few things. Probably the most notable and the most exciting thing I did this year was work with Max Aroma. I didn't do any paid sponsorships or anything like that, but they did send me some PR when they started stocking Mask Milano fragrances. So they are things that I would have wanted to try anyway. I have to say that feeling of getting packages in the mail, it did, you know, put it this way, the following month when I wasn't getting any PR, it felt empty. So yeah, probably in hindsight, I probably would have not accepted PR, because that did feel like I was cheating a little bit. So I guess to sum all that up, things I would do differently, which I think would help somebody attempting a no buy or a low buy, is you need to have some rules. You need to have some really strict rules for the things that you really want to focus on, but don't overdo it, because if it feels too restrictive, you won't stick to it. The other thing is, for the things that aren't captured in your no buy or low buy, like categories that you're not capturing or things like that, make sure you set a budget around those things, because you can, the spendiness can be transferred to other things. So set yourself a budget straight up. I should have done that because I didn't do that. And the other thing I would say is tell people that you're doing it, because people will call you out, but they're also extremely supportive. Even if it's just your close family or friends or something like that, just let some people know that you're doing it, and they will be supportive. And if they're not supportive, then use that as a motivation to show them what you're capable of. Write things down on a wish list instead of buying it. Give it a month. See if you still really want it at the end of the month. Utilize samples. Yeah, utilizing samples wherever you can really, really does help, because there's been so many times where I've started wearing a sample going, oh, this smells amazing. And by the time I'm halfway through a 2 ml sample, I'm done with it and I know that I don't want it. If you really love it that much, you'll be able to get it later. And later, you might also be able to get it cheaper. Patience really does pay off. It really does. You don't have to have it straight away. And just remember, I think I said this before, nobody else notices. Nobody else knows what you're wearing. Nobody else cares. Spending money is not self-care. So the next question is, what is your ideal number for a carefully curated collection? I have no idea. None. I know Pep's sort of ideal number is about 60 bottles. For some other people that I've been talking to, they've got about 20. I'm not there yet. I think I need another no buy year to get to the bottom of some of these questions, but I honestly don't know. Right now, where I'm at mentally with my perfume wardrobe, I can't even imagine getting it down to 100 right now. And this is something else that I want to talk about later, but maybe not in this video, because this video is getting really long. Was I able to empty some of my bottles? Yes, I was. I think I emptied the Giovanni Antonelli, the 811 perfume. I emptied Chanel No. 5 Eau Premiere. I emptied Narciso Rodriguez, the Black Cube EDT. And I feel like there was another one, but I can't remember. Anyway, I've got it all written down somewhere. But yes, I did empty some bottles, which was great. What will be your first fragrance purchase in 2023? Yeah, I think that was the same question Pep asked me. I don't know. I don't know. Who knows? Oh, this isn't a question, but somebody said they started with 70 plus bottles, I'm assuming, and became overwhelmed with my inspiration, culled it back to 44. Well, you're my inspiration now, because I'm still not in the headspace of culling my perfume wardrobe. I'm in the headspace of knowing I don't want to expand it, but I'm not in the headspace of culling it yet. Would I do it again? Yes, I think I would, actually. And I'm even contemplating just continuing it on for a little bit longer to see how it goes. I'm having a lot of resistance to wanting to buy perfume at the moment. Somebody asked, how do you think the no buy year will change the way you buy perfume? Well, a lot more mindfully. I think it has really driven home for me the fact that I really don't know if I love something until I've sampled it quite extensively. So even though I was already sampling before, I mean, even most of the purchases I made in 2021 were not blind buys. They were things that I had sampled and knew that I liked. You know, something really has to be pretty good to make it into my wardrobe now because I have so much. If I buy something that is not wowing me, then it's probably not going to get picked up and worn. So, and when I say something has to wow me, I don't mean it has to be super original or extremely complex. It just has to do what it does really, really well. And I don't need to have 5 different perfumes with similar scent profiles that do what they do really well. I just need one, right? And that is something else that I learned from this no buy year, was that there are many things in my wardrobe that are very similar to other things in my wardrobe. I have this really bad habit, and I know that a lot of us have this same problem, but I have this bad habit of sort of getting on a kick with a particular note or a particular scent profile, and then I will buy 5 different perfumes that are basically the same thing, or they do the same thing. But you don't need all of them. You just need to pick one. So that's something I learned from my no buy years, how much in my wardrobe is actually similar. And so this year I am going to be doing, I think I've already talked about this, but I'm going to be doing a bit of a series, a this or that series, but it's mostly me comparing things that are in my wardrobe that are similar to each other. And it's going to be hopefully a way for me to whittle down to which ones are my favorites from a particular category. And then hopefully that means I can start decluttering the things that just aren't my favorites of a particular scent profile. It was very long-winded, sorry, but that's how this no buy year has changed my approach to buying perfume. I don't want to add things in that I don't know already that I absolutely love. And the only way that I'm going to know I absolutely love them is to sample them extensively. So samples and decants are your friends, people. They don't look as pretty, and sometimes the atomizers aren't as satisfying as spraying from a full bottle, but at the end of the day, if you get the perfume onto your skin, job done.
When I'm walking on a breeze, I got no enemies. I just do what I please.